Hey, this is a review for the Genesis and the Boss. So, first of all, the Genesis is bigger. This is the Genesis silver with black splash. And I have the, well, it doesn't really matter about the string, who cares, but this is the Boss. Green with silver center. It's pretty amazing. So, you can already see the Boss is bigger, or the Genesis, sorry. So, not that much difference. You can see right here at the top of it. Yeah, but then you can see it that way, and I'm going to take the strings off. So, gap width, you can't really compare them because the millimeters you can't really see with your eye. Well, you can, but most people just stick them together and say, yeah, they're about the same size and gap width, but to me it looks like the Boss is a little bigger, and I think it is. I'm pretty sure it is, but you can't just go and guess. Like even my friend at school who got me into yo-yoing, just took them up against the wall with the strings in, so you couldn't even see the gap. Just held them up and he said, yep, they're about the same. You can't say that because they're not about the same. The gap isn't going to be about the same because each gap is going to be different. Even if it's just like a little amount, it's going to be different. So yeah, but I was using the Genesis, and first throw it was amazing. I loved it. It wasn't like a holy wow because like this was my first metal, like really nice metal, so it's what I expected, was it to be nice. And by the way, I'm about 6'2", so my hand's pretty big, and that's the size of it to my hand. Just if I was gonna throw it, it's about that big, so it's pretty big. Boss, it's about this big, so yeah, it's smaller. Both fit really comfortably in your hand. But anyways, using the Boss, and I bought a 10-ball bearing with it, and I always heard they were better, but if you haven't used one, you seriously need to get one because the 10-ball bearings are just way smoother, they spin longer, you can tell the difference. It's amazing. It's like having a really nice yo-yo compared to a sucky yo-yo, in my opinion. But yeah, you just have to get them because when I was first throwing the Boss, right now it has a 10-ball bearing. I don't have a 10-ball bearing on my Genesis right now because I just got this yesterday. And so when I first threw this down, it sucked. I pretty much hated it just because I played with the Y Factor the other day. I didn't own it, but my friend got it. And I was really impressed by it. So by this, I guess I wasn't used to it. So with the Genesis, I was just used to the Genesis. At first I didn't like the Genesis because I had to get used to it, but I love it now. I haven't used it for a day or two, but since I got this. But first throw I didn't like this and I wanted to sell it, but then I took a little time to I took a little time to use it, like you could say, just getting used to it, and I liked it a lot better. And then I forgot all about the 10-ball bearing until the kid at school who got me into yo-yoing told me to put it on. I'm like, oh yeah, so I did. Holy crap. It was so smooth, you could like immediately tell the difference. If you haven't used one, you need one so bad. Even with lube on, this thing can spin like a lot. Like when I stick lube on my bearing, it always goes responsive. But I'll lube mine, play with it for a day or something, then I'll clean it and just play with it, and it works just fine. And so, yeah, they're amazing. And so, let's see. Oh, that's the 10-ball bearing right there. I don't know if you could hear it before, but just spun it, still going. But after putting the 10-ball bearing on my Boss, it is amazing. It's so much smoother, and I'm trying to get used to it still because since it's smaller, it's shaped differently. Of course, it's going to be a little different because the Genesis has that big H shape going on there, and this has an H shape, but it's just little. It's just that little part, and it's more round, but then I used it on grinds. I read somewhere that like this was good on grinds, and it is good on grinds. It works just fine because it was like my first really nice metal, so it was amazing to me. And I read something somewhere that this had like a laser finish on it, laser color finish, whatever it is, compared to that other one on the Genesis. And it said that it wasn't as good, that the bosses wasn't as good, and so I tried the grind, and it feels like weightless on your hand. So I was just using it, and it was perfect. It feels so amazing. Then if you try and go up your arm, like I was trying to do a grind transfer for where you go up your left hand and then onto your arm and off. It is so hard getting it to just go across your arm because it's so slick. And then these extra lips or whatever you want to call them, they're amazing for thumb grinds. It stays in there. I learned on my Genesis, and it's just this puny little. From here, it looks pretty big, but this part that doesn't help you at all. It's really hard. So I guess just learning on my Genesis just made things a little more difficult. So once I got to the easy stuff, it was easier. So yeah, the Genesis is, well, I haven't used it in a while, so I can't say much because I've forgotten a couple things about it. But anyways, I stuck the 10 ball bearing on it. I don't remember what it was like with the normal bearing because I pretty much took it off immediately. But with the 10 ball bearing, it's super smooth, and since I think it's just made that way, since it's a 5/8, it instead of dropping off, like if I was to throw this and I'm throwing just straight down, that's where I'm aiming, is just straight down, then of course when you throw it's gonna go this way and it'll stop down here. Because like when you throw, you're gonna fling it forwards and then it'll come down, but you're still aiming down. So then when I'm using this, it'll just like drop down where how it's supposed to. But if you use a Genesis, it'll fling forward like it's supposed to, but then it, like how I explain it, it just rolls off. So instead of going straight, it'll swing back behind you. I've just learned to control that, but after you get used to a 1/8 yo-yo like the Boss, and then you play this, you don't expect it. I even had this kid at my school, he couldn't even throw it, my Genesis, because he was so used to a 1/8 pop star, and now it just drops off the string. And so he was just chucking it, and it would swing around and smack his elbow because it was rolling off instead. But yeah, anyways, it's super smooth. It sleeps forever. It's really nice. Oops. Okay, but oops. Okay. There. Has the crappy Boss bearing on. Yeah, that's a stock bearing compared to a 10 ball. It just stinks. So I would say right now I like the Boss better, but before was this one. So yeah, don't know much more to say.